交わる線と線着飾る大好きなあれこれそれそういつだって譲れないアイデンティティ
The fifth Mizuki Focus event started a few days ago, and you have probably seen many memes about it by now. And here are a few examples. Okay, editor, you know we get the point. Anyway, there are so many aspects of this event that I believe are not discussed enough, so this is going to be my very first reaction/analysis video on an event. So let's set the stage. The event had been hyped for a very long time already. It had been over 500 days since the last Mizuki event, and also 3 years since the cliffhanger in What Lies Behind, What Lies Ahead. Yes, we were given many tiny teasers since then, such as in Anna 4, Mizu5, and songs such as and Purple and Ken, but the actual character arc of Mizuki remained unresolved.
いつか話してもいいって思ったら話してそれまで待ってるから
And then, suddenly, all hell went loose. On the 4th anniversary live stream, Mizu5 was announced and a teaser for the commission was released, which is currently playing in the background. And well, it sounded dark. Not outright sad like Engeki and Reborn, but it sounded of suffering and raw pain toiling beneath the surface. There was something here that was different. Fast forward by 10 days and Mizu5 was almost ready to drop. The announcement for the banner was made, and Sega released this deeply unsettling image of a very traumatized Mizuki. Interpretations went flying around. I looked at the rooftop, a place that symbolized isolation but also comfort to Mizuki, and how Anna's presence there highlights how she's a source of warmth to Mizuki, but also a desire to discover the truth that had been hidden for so long. I really like the fence here because it's perhaps representative of the distance that Mizuki feels will stem from their confrontation with Anna, but it could also imply a sense of desperation, since Mizuki feels trapped by this metaphorical obstacle and doesn't want to venture out of their comfort zone. By keeping oneself at a distance, Mizuki seemed to say, one can guarantee that they will not be hurt when others inevitably leave them, when they discover the secret that they keep hidden and secure. There are also the butterflies, one in Anna's color and one in Mizuki's color. And the fact that Anna's butterfly seems to be chasing after Mizuki highlights her instinct to run away. The butterflies are also symbolic for transformation and metamorphosis, linking to the song Samusa and Kafka's beloved novel The Metamorphosis. If we take the trans-fan reading, it is perhaps suggesting that Mizuki's transformation is fully natural and beautiful. Here we can see that Mizuki is a direct parallel to Mafuyu's character. If Mafuyu represents the discovery of oneself, Mizuki perhaps highlights the importance of expressing and, more importantly, accepting one's identity. Anyway, I, like many others, waited impatiently for the card leaks. Except, well, they were delayed. Not once, not twice, but delayed 3 times. It was delayed by so much that when the leaks finally came out, it was the next day and I was at work. So, like a responsible person, I decided to finish out my work before checking out the leaks. Yeah, no, I logged on the Discord while at work. The cards were shocking to say the least. I will talk more about the cards later, since a lot of the interpretations are reading the story as well. But I think everyone could tell that this event was going to be dark, perhaps even more so than saying goodbye to my last self. And then it was almost time for the event. Mizuki's voice actor made a post on Twitter saying she cried after doing the voice acting. Everyone was scared. I prayed Colorful Palette would mess us up. They had hyped us up for 3 whole years. And they delivered. From here on, I am going to start talking about the event. And if you still haven't read it yet and you don't want to be spoiled, please click off this video and were reminded of the need for tissues when doing the story. The second that work ended, I immediately went into the translation document of the event story. Big kudos to Penguin8661 for making this for the community, and so I read it. And on a different device, I had the Japanese file of the game open, so I could read the translation while listening to the voice acting at the same time. I've come very close to crying when reading event stories before, but where does the forward path lead is the first event that actually did make me cry, because it deals with the fear of desertion and isolation. It is the fear of being different, of trying to fit in with others. It is about trying to overcome the things that cannot be changed.
それはただのみんなの優しさで本当は温かくてきっとすごくいいものででも僕はその優しさがみんなの中に生まれちゃうことがどうしようもなく嫌なんだ。
The ending of the event is simply so impactful. To have to see that time has been born, I can't help but hate it so much. And it's precisely the kindness of Anna and the rest of Night Court that was so painful to Mitsuki, because they had failed to tell her their secrets on their own. Because all they could do was run away from Anna, again and again.
自業自得だな。逃げて、逃げて、逃げ続けて。いっそ誰か話してくれって思ってたんだから。願い通りになったじゃないか。ああ、消えたいな。
Mitsuki fully understands that Anna accepts them, but they cannot accept themselves. This is why in their cards their eyes are blindfolded. This is why the mirror is shattered where the head would be. This is the motif of the unsightly and the ugliness, as shown in Samusa, Emperor Pole, and also Bakeno Hana. It is the curse of being born male that cannot be cured. It is the broken body that will never be accepted. The ugly makeup that not only symbolizes Mitsuki's crumbling facade as their secret is revealed against her will, but also the fact that the makeup is an inherently feminine symbol. Anna's acceptance is painful for them because they cannot accept themselves. The makeup, Mitsuki seems to say, and hence by extension femininity as a whole, will never fit in. We can see an extension of this motif in the cards. The specks of red on Mitsuki's dress highlight how they feel tainted by the curse, forever wrapped in its darkness. This is further juxtaposed by the apparent light in each of the other cards. Anna and Matthew's cards are completely white, symbolizing how Mitsuki feels them to be pure, and yet her own card is covered in darkness. The contrast with Mitsuki's first focus card in Secret Distance is even more staggering. We see broken ribbons, a deserted mannequin, and an utterly defeated Mitsuki. Gone are the pretty outfits which symbolizes a hopeful future. We are completely plunged into an empty room of darkness, with Mitsuki standing lifelessly in the center, and the bow given to them by their sister hanging drearily off to the side. The white roses cleverly placed on the blooming motif since the 3rd anniversary. The ghost flower referenced in the commission symbolizes a time of growth, and yet Mitsuki wants to return to being a bird, because they simply cannot move forward. However, the damage is already done. Her classmates have revealed the secret, and metaphorically speaking, the flower has already blossomed. Just how flowers are delicate and wilt easily, so too are Mizuki's emotions. The story is no longer about others accepting Mizuki. It's about self-acceptance. Thorns, as referenced by the title of the event, only grow on blooming roses. They represent Mizuki's isolation, a powerful metaphor of how they push others away from themselves. By further delving into the lyrics of the commission, we can see that there are even more hints of the season. The flower of the skies conspicuously points to the fact that the natural beauty of the flower is only a mask that's hiding the hideousness beneath the surface. The line, as if to end the punishment for which you were born, perfectly sums up the experiences of being transgender. To be stuck in a body that you despise. And this is further reinforced by this interpretation I found on Instagram. That begonias start off with male organs, but then gradually develop female ones. For me, this is enough proof that Mizuki is trans-femme instead of being non-binary. And it's the reason why I will switch to using she/her pronouns for Mizuki instead of using they/them. And this leads us on to the ending of the event. The fact that Mizuki wants to disappear stems from their inability to accept their own body, despite knowing that the rest of the court will. There is also a hidden connotation of suicide here, that there is no point in living in a body that you cannot see as your own. In fact, I would go as far as to say that this final monologue is almost in a way a suicide note, a metaphor for the futility in living in a broken, shattered world. Furthermore, in both the virtual show and the area conversation after reading the event, we see her helplessness and loneliness again, of not being able to sing with everyone ever again. It is perhaps interesting that this is the first and only solo area conversation after the third anniversary. Every other area conversation contains 2 or more characters. The implication here is really intense, and this is further emphasized by how Mizuki only ever sings with Kaito in the cover for Baken no Hana. They do not share even just one line with any of the rest of Night Court, linking to their withdrawal from the real world after the event ends. It is also worth noting that the master chart consists of 1003 notes, with the 1 symbolizing Mizuki and the 3 symbolizing the rest of Night Court.
Mizuki! Mizuki! 私はなんで
On the other hand, we have Anna, who continues to struggle in her attempt to reach Mizuki. The sheer desperation in Anna's voice here is like daggers stabbing into my soul every time I hear it. Her card pairs perfectly with Mizuki's very first 3-star, and the way she grabs tightly at the red lace symbolizes her unwillingness to let go, and yet the lace reaches deep underwater, to a place where she cannot go, to a place where Mizuki is drowning. Perhaps this barrier we see here is the fence in the banner image. Perhaps this is the boundary implied by the Mizu Anna Trust rank title. Perhaps this is the distance in Mizuki's first event, Secret Distance. She understands her, but she cannot reach her. Mizuki has gone to a place where Anna simply cannot follow, and she is completely and utterly helpless. And let's turn our attention to Mafuru's 3-star in this event. The umbrella motif established in the iconic kitty card immediately stands out, symbolizing a sort of protection as Misaki attempts to shield Mafuyu from the metaphorical rain. And yet here the umbrella is upturned and discarded. The red lace connecting her with Misaki severed and torn, implying how she can no longer reach Misaki. The overall atmosphere emancipating from this card is one of her mourning, as she is lamenting the death of a dear friend. I think that the reason why this event has affected me so deeply is not only because I relate to Misaki on so many levels that it is actually unsettling, but also because this is the first time that my story has truly ventured to the darker aspects of social issues. Misaki's arc is different to all previous stories, in the sense that it is dark rather than sad. The subtle but important nods to suicide litter the final chapters, perhaps even more so than Mafuyu has ever done. Where does the fourth path lead? I can say definitively, has truly changed my life. And kudos to the colorful palette writers who have absolutely nailed this character arc and made me write a script of over 3,000 words. Let us hope that both Misaki and Anna can find their solace and peace in the events that follow. That is all the time we have for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're still here, remember to leave a like and subscribe. It's completely free and it certainly helps out a lot. And I will see you in the next video.